Welcome to Dad's Divorce Live. I'm your host, Matt Allen, editor of dadsdivorce.com. Today I'm joined by Dr. Jeffrey Dew. He is an assistant professor in the Family Consumer and Human Development Department at Utah State University and the author of a recent research article on the predictors of divorce. So Jeff, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure to be here.
Now, in your research, it was published in the journal Family Relations. You collected data from thousands of couples, and what did you discover was the top predictor of divorce?
Well, we wanted to look to see what, we were looking at different types of conflict, and we wanted to see whether, certain types of conflict were more predictive of divorce than others. So we tested conflict over chores, conflict over money, conflict over in-laws, conflict over sex, and conflict over spending time together. And what we found was that for men, conflict over money that was collected at the first time point was the only predictor in terms of, those types of conflict, the only predictor of divorce later. We collected this data over time, or this data was collected over time. And for women, conflict over money was also predicted later divorce, although conflict over sex also predicted divorce as well. For women, though, conflict over money was certainly the stronger predictor of the two.
So were you surprised by the findings?
A little bit, but not really. One of the reasons that we did this research was so many people who I'd talked to, when they found out I'm a professor, they would ask what I was studying, and I would say, money and marriage. And they say, that's good because, money, is the number one predictor of divorce. And the funny thing is, in the research community, we didn't have any research to support that idea. And so I wanted to see if, fighting about money really was one of the top predictors of divorce. That was kind of interesting to find out this idea that a lot of people just had maybe experienced in their own lives or seen other people go through. To see that pan out in the data was kind of interesting.
So why do you think money leads to more arguments in a marriage, leads to divorce, as opposed to fighting over what some may consider more volatile topics like children or sex, or even dealing with pesky in-laws or any of those other common conflicts?
Yeah, so I think three reasons. The first is you kind of have to think about, okay, what causes fighting about money compared to those other things. And the first thing that I think, that I know because I've done the research, one of the things that strongly associated with fighting about money is people who have financial stress. So the more worried you are about your bills, the more you're worried about your financial future, the more likely you are to fight about your spouse with your money. And, just stress in general is just never a good thing for marriage. And so I think that's one of the reasons why fighting about money is more likely to lead to divorce, just because it's those people who are really financially stressed who are fighting about it. The second reason is I think that oftentimes couples will use fighting about money as a way to fight about deeper issues in the relationship. So, when couples fight about the purchase that she made or, the purchase that he made, they're not really fighting about the money itself. They might be fighting about trust issues or issues about autonomy, or, maybe issues about commitment, so there's just, so sometimes these money arguments are really fighting over about the deeper issues in the relationship. And when those deeper issues in the relationship, like trust, aren't resolved, then you get the divorce. The last reason I think that makes fights about money particularly prone to lead to divorces, that we all have these deeply rooted ideas about the best use of money, right? Or what the best way to use money is. And oftentimes this comes from our family of origin, and often we're not thinking about this on a conscious level, really. But, some people think that the best way to use money, or the way they like to use money most, is status, right? And other people might be thinking, well, the best way to use money, or the best way I like to use money, is to get peace of mind, right? To buy peace of mind, whether that's through a savings account or more insurance or whatever. And so when you have two spouses who conflict on these deeper, hidden meanings of money to them, then they're going to be arguing, and they're really not going to they're really not going to get to the bottom of it, and that may lead to divorce, right? Some people like to use money to have fun, right, and have fun experiences. And like I said, when you've got couples who have different ideas about what money is best used for, you may end up with a divorce.
So finally, how can couples avoid these financial arguments that your research proves is a harbinger of divorce?
Well, you have to acknowledge that everyone's going to fight, and all couples are going to fight, and all couples are probably going to fight about money. But the thing to make sure is that couples have explicit financial goals that both spouses agree on. Right. So couples need to talk about their money. They need to sit down, whether it's weekly or monthly, and talk about their money. Now, this is not always a very comfortable subject for couples, but they need to do it, and they need to make sure that their financial goals that they have are jointly held. They need to compromise with each other, make sure they're communicating about their financial goals, and then work toward those financial goals together. And that will actually end up bringing them together, right, as they work toward their goals, and as they work together. And that should help them avoid divorce. The other thing they need to do is they need to make sure that they're open with each other, and that they're not hiding any type of financial transactions or accounts from each other. A recent study, it was about 2 years ago, found that about a third of spouses admit to hiding financial transactions from their spouse, and so they need to couples need to be open about those, so there's no surprises later on.
Well, Jeff, thanks for looking into this issue with your research, and thanks again for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
That was Dr. Jeffrey Dew, a researcher and assistant professor in the Family, Consumer, and Human Development Department at Utah State University. I'm Matt Allen, editor of dadsdivorce.com, and that'll do it for this edition of Dad's Divorce Live.